Hello, everyone. I came across it's not an article. I wanted to call it an article, but this is supposed to be like an article. But it was on the Twitter handle of Obiasogu David at Afrisagacity. That's his Twitter handle, and he had, he documented desperate moves by Tinubu's government, according to him. For me, it's illegitimate government, to stop the hunger protest. So he listed out 15 desperate moves that he put out, and I found it quite interesting. He said a long thread, but worth the read. And I'm going to look at this and read it. Let's just go through them together. And I felt it was something, because this is not even this is something he should have even put in like a real article thread, but of course many people don't read articles. I probably wouldn't have read it, so this helps for a lot of people to see. So that let's see what has been done. Tinubu put his energy, did everything that he could to stop this protest. Bringing in malams, bringing in passports, bringing in traditional rulers, youth, whatever, this, that, whatever, without actually addressing the concerns of the protesters and what they said were their issues and the warnings they gave. There was a long time that was given before this protest was done. I think it's like a month or even more when they kept this. But as usual, they fell for their own is to not listen to the people and just be high-handed and continue to suppress, oppress, and control the people, forgetting that hunger is a higher master than whatever any of them shenanigans they are putting out there. But let's look at what Obiasogu David has put together. He said, it's been a tragicomically entertaining series in the last 15 days, especially since calls for the hunger protest gained traction. Tinubu's team, gripped by the fear of Nigerians wielding the monster that they abusively used to ascend to power, orchestrated probably the most dramatic responses to the anti-government protests in Nigeria's history. If you observe keenly, he said, you'd notice that these moves followed a pattern that were served in stages. Let's get right into the 15 of them. And he said, 1, House of Representatives panic salary cuts. When they came out to say they are cutting their salary by that. He said the first notable response to the protest was a panic-triggered plenary session by the House of Representatives. During the session, they pledged to take a 6-month salary cut as a sacrifice due to the economic hardship they aided Tinubu to heap on Nigerians. So they begged for the protest to be halted. But of course, no one cares about them taking a salary cut. Their allowances are already a killer. And I think I saw an interview that someone did recently. I think it's a lawmaker, where he was saying that the salary he got, he said the salary he got for this month, that's last month, that just ended, which is July, there seemed not to have been any, a salary cut. Then the next one, he said 2, APC attack dogs unleashed. It is clear the sly attempt by this House of Representatives to stop the planned protest was dead on arrival. Nobody even had their time. I didn't even talk about it in my video myself. I beg, who have time to be wasting? Because there are certain things you don't waste your energy on non-issue. It says the call for the protest was gaining steam and spread, especially on X, Twitter, and across the social media. So Tinubu's government had to unleash their attack dogs on X and other platforms to kickstart a counter thread, which was no to protest. You remember that no to protest starting? Their team lead would be Mr. Bayo. In no meantime, they flooded the timelines with their rabid chants to cause confusion and distract everyone. But still, people continued. The third thing that Tinubu brought in, emergency meeting with first-class kings, chiefs, and whatever, emirs, whatever. APC's rabid dogs came on board too late. By when they started their weak and damnful anti-protest media campaign, the news had spread offline, touching most nukes of the country. So Tinubu moved on to the traditional rulers and charge them to start talking to their people. Perhaps the traditional rulers were too reluctant to act. The old man in Aso Rock had to summon them all to an all-expense-paid emergency meeting in his Aso villa. No one can clearly tell how very handsomely the chiefs were rewarded, but with how they desperately and eagerly released statements warning against the protests, especially Oni of Ife, Sultan of Sokoto, and Oba of Benin, one can't doubt that their pockets were possibly, he said possibly, blessed beyond measure by the Oga at the Aso villa. 4. The fourth measure, can Murik and other religious institutions bow to Aso Rock? Just as the Navish traditional rulers were signing out of Aso Rock, the confused religious institutions were taking a bow to the Aso Rock Principality Lord. Suddenly, Khan became an advocate of the government and started begging Nigerians to give Tinubu government more time. Murik, in their annoying, primitive manner, dish warnings and threats. But who that one help? That's what Obiasogu David has put here. 5. He said, panic scare by security agents. At this stage, it's already looking like the coconut head generation were not interested in whatever pro-government PR the first-class chiefs and unstable religious bodies were doing for the Aso Rock Lord. They were continuing with the protest anyways. The next response Aso Rock would signal would be unleashing security officers to flood the traditional media and inject panic scare propaganda. While the DSS were warning organizers of the protest and identifying them, the police were shouting on top of their cracky voices and asking the organizers to identify themselves. From their end, the military are saying they had marched out of their slummy barracks. Those ones that, let me just focus on state because it's already long. We are at number 5 and we've already gone so far. Time is already going. I don't want this video to be too long, but to be long anyway. It's better let's look at these things. It's not only helps us now, helps us in the future also. And then know your enemy. It's number 1 thing in whatever you're doing. The military are saying they had marched out of their slummy barracks to intervene in the protest, maybe a repeat of the evil they unleashed during the EndSARS. Then 6, governors weighed. After they did military, that one wasn't working. The next thing, governors came in. Since the federal interventions are seemingly exhausted, it's time to spread the anti-protest campaign to the states. Not surprising to see the pot-bellied state replicas of the Aso Rock Lord start running helter-skelter to dampen the raging echo of the protests in their respective states.
Well, democracy is about opinion of the people, and the protest is allowed in a democratic setting. But every protest must be reasonably conceived to be able to make political sense. I think it's too early at this time in the life of this government for anybody to come out to say he wants to protest. First of all, there have not been any engagement where those who are sponsoring the protest was able to tell us the reasons for the protest. Secondly, given the global situation today and the insecurity in the country, we have a very fragile political environment that, if not managed and protected very well, may collapse the entire country. So those who are going to protest, what is the reason for the protest? And if they have no reason for the protest, I think our advice, we're meaning Nigerians, citizens of this country who are making sacrifices. Some of us have paid the supreme price for the existence of this country. We should guide our country very jealously. I think it is a wrong time for anybody to do any protest, because the implication of doing that, if care is not taken, is that it may be hijacked, like the EndSARS experience, where criminals now hijacked and innocently conceived agitation by young Nigerians. So this is another kind of temptation that I think too that those behind the protest, because they have not been able to come out openly to say they are behind it, there is something that is a motive that is yet to be unraveled. So I think that we are not in support of the protest. We are not going to support any protest that has no programs, that is not discussed, that nobody knows what the problems. Okay, if you are protesting, what do you want government to do? Because the reason for protest is that they want an issue to be addressed. What are the issues? So in my view, I think there's no need to overheat the polity, overheat our environment, and put our people in a position that the hardship that is occasioned by economic recession all over the world is further worsened. So I advise against the protest.
For instance, the foul-mouthed Hope Uzodinma compelled the other Southeast governors to a meeting 2 days after he unleashed a Obiasogu to scare Imolites from coming out. Sanwo-Olu, as well as other governors, also had press briefings. Not that the Nigerians were surprised, aside from Alex Oti falling everyone's hand. And there were some that were using religion, telling people that some governors were telling people that it's against Islam to protest and all of that. People should go home and go and pray, check themselves and whether they are doing right, as if these governors are sinless. Anyway, they did the governor's own. Guess what was the number 7 thing they brought in? According to Obiasogu David, he said, Dazed Nance Leaders Incorporated. Perhaps the share of the circulating largesse dropped in the shallow pockets of the so-called Nance leaders a bit late, or they simply delayed to be unleashed in due time. They crawled out to add volume to the anti-protest noise, but theirs also was watery, irrelevant, and undeserving attention from Nigerians whose anger is running up as the events unfold. Then 8. He said, and he brought these things, so you see them with the evidence of the newspapers, videos. I mean, this is such a great work. Honestly, you please just go and check out his Twitter handle. He really did an amazing work, just analyzing and putting us through all the things that had happened. He said, "Hey, Wike, Tinubu's daughter recruited for town crying. Wike landed accidental second appointment, this time as the FCT official town crier for anti-protest campaigns. Of course, he hardly disappoints in such duties. Already, he's a natural loose mouth, a noisy speaker whose shout echoes far beyond the reach of his thinking scope. So it's unusual that he's able to hop onto the new job swiftly and happily. Took to the marketplaces in Abuja to town cry against the protest. Folashade Tinubu Ojo, on the other hand, was in Lagos delivering on the town crying job for her papa. Fair to her, she was able to grab the ears of the very gullible few." He said 9. Rice for 40k. Minimum wage signed. Other policies desperately effected. In a bid to deceive the most gullible amongst Nigerians, Obiasogu David said, Tinubu and his surrogates embarked on a rat race, dishing out Greek gifts. The intent was clear: to assuage the flaring tempers of Nigerians and divide them. So we can have a situation where the mumu ones will say, why una dey protest? Shebi government don dey do something. All of a sudden, Aso Rock wanted to sell rice for 40,000. Tinubu signed the minimum wage, stopped import duties, and begged for dialogue. But as they say, when you eat with the devil, you use a long spoon. Who will trust the great gifts of a Tinubu government? Illegitimate government, by the way. Not certainly these pained Nigerians who have gone through so much. So that's now number 10. The number 10, this thing that he brought. Paid urchins hold pro-government protest. Some hungry and dumb Nigerians were bought like condemned goods and dumped at Eagle Squares, Abuja, Lagos, and Uyo to hold placards. They had no idea what was written on them in a pro-government protest. The location where these hungry protesters were packed to already tells who are in charge. Abuja, Wike; Uyo, Akpabio; Lagos, Jagaban stooge. But this tactic isn't new to Nigerians now. So everyone just angrily laughed at the tragicomedy and moved on to more important issues, especially after the hired protesters. Let me do my Avevekuve laugh here. I even did videos on this, especially when the hired protesters started crying over non-payment of the peanuts the Tinubu government promised them. The hot breakfast was served to them instantly, and it's already burning their mouth. And I just love the way, Obiasogu David just put all of this together and just made it like, sort of like it's an interesting read. It's not too boring, and you're staying on and you're reading, and he really caught their attention. I mean, kudos to him. Great job he has done. Amazing job he did. Then 11, Asari Dokubo, Sunday Igboho back for attention. At this time, Jagaban and his team of racketeers in Aso Rock were edging to their last resort, which is characteristics of them, which is violence. They had unleashed their backing dogs to beat the gong and draw attention to the next move, and both gangsters delivered exactly as they are paid. A press conference was arranged for Asari Dokubo. The gibberish that oozed from his mouth wasn't any different from what an unstable rabble-rouser vomits. Then, 12. Bigoted gangsters recruited for market invasion. We've suffered in this Nigeria. Most of these things, we just survive. We just keep on going. We don't even see how much these people so disrespected. Anyway, and this is where, for me, I love what Obiasogu David has done. Put this thing together for posterity. 10 years from now, people will come back and see it, because people will try to whitewash what has happened. These kind of things are there for people, to see. They say talks in Lagos were gathered with probably a promise of an urgent 2K to them, and they march into major markets, especially those dominated by Igbos and other non-indigenous, to increase the volume of the drum of violence. Asari Dokubo and Sunday Igboho had started beating. But those ones actually did not have stamina. Hunger dey, no be person wey chop belle full get time dey waka for market dey talk. Hunger, e dey affect everybody. That's why this protest is not protest for empathy, it's protest for survival. Now people dey do the protest on their own. But those ones actually did not have stamina. Everyone knows that hungry people don't have the strength to fight for long, and these ones indeed looked very hungry. Then 13, hungry chiefs out for Oro Festival. The scare and disease card they played in March 2023 Lagos State governorship election was reintroduced. White-clothed bad chiefs marched to the streets to announce they had kickstarted the Oro Festival to coincide with the dates of the protest from August 1st. Instead of getting angry at them, Nigerians pitied them, because the sweat that profusely oozed, soaked their white clothes, wasn't worth the paltry beggarly money they had been paid. Others are angry that the so-called chiefs are used as discardable tools to desecrate a profound Yoruba culture, the Oro Festival. Then 14, he said, traditionalists in Ikorodu leave their shrines. Since traditional chiefs and religious bodies had failed to quell the rage in their members and followers alike, Aso Rock thought maybe it's time to drag traditionalists out of their shrines. At least they have to be useful for something. Abi? So it's not surprising that 2 days into the protest, Nigeria saw the marching of the streets of Ikorodu. Nigeria saw them marching on the streets of Ikorodu, chanting "No protest in Lagos." Well, that too added a very comic episode in the tragic comedy series of the anti-protest. Imagine you are doing anti-protest and you are protesting. You are on the street protesting, telling people not to protest. Don't you see that protest that you two are doing, telling people not to protest, is actually telling people to protest, because protest is the thing that works. Because otherwise, if protest didn't work, you would have stayed in your house and tell people not to protest instead of protesting to tell them not to protest. Anyway, Sha, let me leave that one and let me come back to the final one. Ah, gosh, I'm so tired. But we have to continue. Number 15, Obiasogu David said, bomb scare and the agent Fashola script. Only a day before the protest would begin, and there's suddenly a bomb detonated somewhere in Lagos. Interestingly, only the police knew the location, saw the bomb, and defused the bomb. No one else saw it. Sha, Nigerians can smell and tell a Bollywood script from the soundtrack. And we had seen this particular one before, yes, Agent Fashola drama of 2020 during that EndSARS. You know, when Fashola had his hand behind his back and was checking and seeing things that only him could see. Predictably, the so-called bomb scare was followed by a warning to Lagosians to remain indoors and not come out to protest. David said, you are laughing, right? Anyway, it happened. That's the number 15. Oh, but here, let me tell you, David had a final a tweet that he put. He said, anyways, give it to Tinubu. He's given arguably the most strategic but infamous chain of responses to anti-government protests in Nigeria's history. He may as well earn the title the wizard of modern Nigerian politics. Granted, the accolades may be largely oversized though, for his actual personality, particularly because a majority of Nigerians are largely gullible, unthinking, and irredeemably thoughtless. But at least, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man can lead and claim the champion title. This explains how the low-budget also rock version of Vladimir Lenin appeared to have clipped the balls of everyone in the country with his aging but potent claws, and we seem not to be escaping it. The only consolation is that this coconut head generation are not just backing down like clownish dogs who bark as shadows but dodge the figures. I mean, somebody said, there was a tweet on that here. Somebody said, this is a well-articulated piece of literature that should make history books for the near future. You have done well, comrade. Honestly, Obiasogu David, collect your flowers. Amazing, amazing. Please, you guys should go on Twitter. Just follow him. Go check his handle. Read this thing there. This whole thing he has written. In short, I don't even know what to say. Just to say thank you for documenting all of this. And like someone said, this is something that can actually be put in a book. Help us write a book, even if it's a short whatever, for this whole thing. Thank you so much. And you for still staying here watching till this time. Omo, toilet for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.